Alright, so we're here today for the state of the school. So the idea behind the state of the school is something that the Archdiocese asks all their principals to do in one way or another. With that flexibility, sometimes it ends up in things that might be newsletters, but in this case, after talking to school board, especially with some of like our focus and our change of focus, especially on what we expect from our families this year and what we're gonna need to expect from our families, it was suggested that we do a presentation and do several presentations as we go through the years, just to make sure that we're keeping everybody kind of informed on what's going on. But this is kind of the big one, right? This is the one, just like the State of the Union or the State of the State, that focuses on what's going on. And so what we want to focus on is that. But to start off, we should probably focus on the reason why hopefully we're here, which is one of the things we're going to talk about, which is our Catholic identity and our belief in Christ. So we have to start with a prayer. I will say one, or Father, would you like to say one?
Sure.
Okay. It's probably a little bit more official if we get Father to say a prayer.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. First, you got to be with us, enlighten our hearts, open our minds, and help us to see you in all the things that we do, especially for our community. Let us pray. O God, who renew the world through mysteries beyond all tell, grant, we pray, that your church may be guided by your eternal design, and we deprive of your help in this present age. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
So as Father kind of already alluded to, the idea behind what my focus has been as the principal so far has been trying to create a culture that's built around the thing that I heard the most, which was the development of community. What we hear from the Arch, which is the development of our culture, our academic culture and our Catholic culture. And then also the kind of development of really our school as a whole, so the vitality of our school. And when we look at what's going on right now, we understand that it's not gonna be the easiest thing in the world because of the challenges that we all know has been set in front of us, which is the ending of the tax college scholarship. Our school was wonderful at doing that. We supported a lot of families, and we hope to continuously do that, but we're gonna have to change, okay? And so with that, I need to make sure that we're focused on the right thing, which is what we've identified as the Crusader way, to help us through that change. And so as I look forward in this idea of my principalship and our work together as a school community, I look at this development, especially of our community and our culture. So in our community, we hope to develop an improved sense of unity. And we hope to do that with a lot of different ways, right? We hope to do that just by being and celebrating Catholicism. So the Catholic identity is the one thing that we're gonna drive home. We know that a large portion of our students are not Catholic, and that's okay with us. But what we know is that we wanna celebrate our God the way that we were taught to celebrate him, and that includes allowing people into our culture and having them celebrate with us. And so that's one of the changes we've already seen this year, is getting back to those things like going to Mass. Even when it's hard sometimes, the benefit of seeing how our students behave in Mass, especially on those Catholic school days, or those family Masses, where we see our youngest students and we see other people's youngest students and we see how admirably Miss Weiss's students act and how good they are, no matter how difficult that is for her. It really makes us feel wonderful because we know what we're doing is right. And so that idea of our Catholic culture is one of the things that we have to do. We have to be unified in that idea. And that's one of the ideas that we're just not gonna drive, right? For me, the idea that this is St. Catherine Laboure Catholic School is the most important part of it. And so when we look at that Crusader way, one of those things is Catholic education is paramount to evangelization. We believe that right? We believe that that's part of our job. Not to force the people that come to our school to be Catholic, but to show them the light. And to show them the light by what we do every day. How we help, how we love, how we care, how we celebrate, how we deal with hardships, all those things. And that's a very important part of what we do. Another one of those things that are part of our idea, or my idea, or the existing idea of the Crusader way, is that excellence is intentional. In order to have an excellent culture, in order to have excellent involvement, we have to intentionally do it. And so we are intentionally asking people to get involved. Not only to help us support our school by helping us support the little things like the fact that we need 6 adults outside of the teachers to help support lunch when we have hot lunch, at least 6. Usually it's more like 3 or 4 in the lunchroom making the hot lunch, and so we're at 7 or 8. And so that's where we need that volunteerism. Right, the focus this year is on volunteerism and asking parents to make a choice. And that choice is meant to not really be a choice. The choice is meant to ask everybody to come and volunteer. To take part in this community that we want to demonstrate our love and how great we are. And one way that we think we do that is by having people take part in it. Having all of our parents exist in all of our students' lives. And I understand that we allow people to kind of get out of that by saying, we'll either take your time or your treasure. But the reason why the treasure is high is because we want your time. We want your human spirit. We want your grace, right? We want your wisdom, we want your knowledge, we want all those things because that's what we do as a community. So when we're really looking at this idea of developing our community, the idea of volunteerism has been talked about by parent club, by the school board, by everybody for a long time, and now we're going to make it happen. And we're going to make it happen because it's going to help us try to keep down the tuition. Because if we don't do that, then we have to start investing that money into getting people in here to help us. And we can't do that. Right? And so our goal right now is to keep our tuition at right about the cost that the increases for our teacher salaries. That's exactly what the Archdiocese asks us to do every year. Every year our teacher salaries are going to go up. It means every year our tuition is going to go up. That's every school in the Arch unless they have some sort of magic formula. And yes, that includes OLPH, right? Their tuition will go up this year. And so when we look at this idea, during these hard, challenging times, right? This is the challenges are opportunities part. I need to ask for a change, right? I need to ask for a change that needs to happen in our community, which is I need the voices to come to me, right? I hear through 5, 6, 7 other people about things instead of people coming and talking to me, right? And so the challenge and the opportunity that I want to take from this challenge is that I want our community to come together and to start having these conversations and start bringing the issues that you might have to me. Now that doesn't mean we talk about what happened in your teacher's class today, because that's something in a conversation between you and your teacher. But what I'm talking about are the big things, right? When we're talking about tuition being too high, those conversations should be happening, right? And those conversations are going to be difficult sometimes. But the reality of the situation is our tuition is at a place where we need it to be. We can't make deals outside of what the tuitions already are. We have a system right now through Father Murphy that will allow us to provide scholarships for our students. And that will be through the grace of all the people in our community. And that helps defer the burden from our parish because we live off of their grace too. And so oftentimes I will thank Father Laura for making sure that this happens, because the parish and Father Laura are one of the most important parts, if not the most important part of this situation. Because we need them. We need them not only for their spiritual help, we need them not only for their community, but we need them to help support us. Because we can't do this alone. We haven't been able to do this alone ever. We've been leaning on them forever. And right now, we're at a place where we're getting to the point where our finance council wants us to be. We're getting that deficit very, very close to where they want it to be. Now, we don't know because it's not all done and all the actuals are not completed, but our estimates are looking really, really good for this year. And so when we look at what we're doing, we're setting ourselves up for fiscal responsibility. We have to run this school like a business. There's plenty of heart, there's plenty of giving, there's plenty of loving. But there are parts of this thing where we have to just treat it like a business. The tuition, Janice can tell you this, Father can tell you this, was ad nauseum of us talking about it and looking at numbers and months and months and months. And those numbers are the numbers that we have to go with. And so when we move forward, those scholarships are available. The system is set up. We need people to apply through facts. We need people to go through those steps. And then when those things happen, when all the things have been done the correct way, you applied for financial aid through facts, you've registered your child back at the school, then we can start having the conversations possibly about something different. But we have to make sure that we have a level playing field, that everybody is doing the same thing. Now, the other thing is we have to make sure that we have a level playing field for those people who are active parishioners at our church and those people who are not. And that's one of those things that we're changing. When we ran the numbers at the beginning of this year, those numbers were staggering from what we thought they were. Right? When we pulled the numbers from actual Power School, it read that we had 2/3 parishioners and 1/3 non-parishioners. And when we actually ran the numbers versus the envelopes, it was the opposite. And so we have to hold that accountable. We have to start allowing people to understand that it's not that we don't want, that's not that we don't want to charge you more, it's that we want you to be a part of us. We want you to come to our parish and join us in our mission. We want to unify with you. We want for you to be a part of us. And that has benefits to it. And we have to pass those benefits on to those people who do that, because those are the people who are doing the charitable giving that have made the parishioner subsidizing possible. And so we have to be realistic about our situation. And so as we move forward, things will change, right? Tuition will go up. Unless they freeze the teacher's salary, and then I'm sure we're gonna have another problem. And we don't want that problem. But tuition will go up, but we have to be prepared for that, right? I think we can be realistic and be honest that if we can think that the Archdiocese tells us every year that teacher salaries go up 4 to 5%, we can expect that from our tuition. Now, what our goal is with the Finance Council is to try to get it to where it doesn't have to keep being a 5% increase. We want to try to shrink that number, but we have to do that incrementally. Right? We can't just do it. And we were behind. We were behind all the schools in our council by a long shot. Besides OLPH, which charges less for parishioners, but $1,800 more for non-parishioners. So we're behind. So we're trying to make that up. And yes, that is going to affect people's pocketbooks, and I understand that. And yes, it's going to hurt that we had Empower, but we don't have that anymore. But those scholarships will be there. The scholarships will have to change, right? The scholarships that we're looking at right now are something that will at most be a 50% scholarship. And that is, even there, going to be a challenge. But once again, this is the challenges opportunity situation where what we see is that this is an opportunity for everybody to have buy-in to our school. And that's what we need. We need everybody to be buying in with their time and with their treasure. We need everybody to believe in what we're doing. And the only way we can do that is by having everybody have some buy-in. The system that we have right now is a really good system. It's not perfect. It'll be the first year we use it. but it does have the tools in place, right? Facts does have tools in place to help us make those hard decisions. But those hard decisions are not going to be decisions of full scholarships, and that just has to be said and be realistic. As we go forward, that idea of full scholarships is probably not gonna come back. Unless we get another tax scholarship and they give people 75% tax credits on their alumni state tax. So that idea, we have to now kind of transition. Now, when I first got here, there was, I think, only like 4 kids on scholarship. And that is obviously grown. And with that growth, that should be a sign of our love, right? Because what we're showing everybody is that we're a very giving group of people. We might not have everything, we might not be the richest school, but we're gonna keep giving and keep giving and keep giving. And when we look at that, that's one of our core values as well, is that we have to use our God-given talents to give back, to make our community better. And I hope that we see that that's what this is. That part of our God-given talents is what we have, we should be able to give. Whether it be our time or our treasure. And if you have talents, we will gladly take those too. So if you know people that are electricians and those kind of things, we can always use those people. Because there's always work that we need done. Right, so that's the other thing, is that talent piece that we kind of left off here, but that talent piece is always in there. We also need that because it also helps your kids and everybody else see that, you know, what people can do and what kind of jobs are out there. When we look at this idea of our school, we also have to understand that with a small school sometimes comes problems that can be bigger. But one of our core values is that we are all unique learners, and we all kind of have to be taken at where we are, which requires us in our classrooms and in our lives to start being a little bit more accepting of people. And this is one of those difficulties, I think, when you have a small school, because sometimes that gets challenged, right? In a big school, problems can sometimes get lost in the minutia of everything. But right now, sometimes those problems get big and they fester. That's, once again, that's the opportunity where I need you to come and talk to me. But I need it also to not be always like we're blaming somebody or we have a problem with somebody. It's that we need these positive conversations. We need these conversations that are geared towards our success as a community and our success as a learning group. And I think that's one of those challenges that I would put out there when it comes to this idea of accepting all of our students where they are. Is that sometimes it takes us a little bit to step back and say, okay, the kid's only 4, or that kid's only this age. And it takes us to kind of put ourselves in those positions. But it also takes that time to process through and then come and talk to your teacher about those things that are happening with your students, with other kids. But then if it gets to that point, come and talk to me. And if there's something festering with another kid or another parent, those things definitely come and talk to me. Because I feel like those are some of the things that we see in this small school, is that although we're so small and we have this core belief that we're a family and that we should accept each other, that we don't take advantage of that sometimes. My job is not to dole out punishment. My job is not to dole out consequence. My job is to be the academic leader of the school. Like those people back there, I have a responsibility to every single one of those people that are sitting back there to help them become better teachers. I have a responsibility to, with that, help your students become better learners. I have a responsibility to hopefully, in this case, in a Catholic school, create a healthy, vibrant Catholic community that thrives off of each other and each other's God-given talents. But those things are sometimes very difficult if people are holding resentments against other people, or if people are just not coming and talking to me about what they see as the problems. And so that's the challenge, right? Is that when we hit these moments where We might not agree with somebody, we might not agree with something that's happening, that's the opportunity to come and talk to me. And so I know that that's like that just sound like I'm an insane person, because I'm like, yes, come and talk to me about almost anything, but I need it to start happening. Because that's the way that we get better. That's the way that I can see those challenges as opportunities. Opportunities to change things, opportunities to improve things, opportunities to look at things and make things slightly different. When we look at this idea of the whole student, to me, yes, that has to do with the education part. Yes, that has to do with the social emotional part that we're hoping to get better at and hoping to develop a better curriculum at providing. But to me, that's the part that always goes back to our Catholic part, right? And so the spiritual part, that idea that we want our students to take part in Christ and we want our students to be accepted by Christ and accept Christ in their life is a really important part. It's expected of us, right? At 75%, it's expected by the Archdiocese. So right now, 97% of your wonderful students have taken the survey of the 5 essentials. The biggest question that we get graded on is, do you think Christ exists in your life? And for us, we score great on it. We don't get to their 75%, but we do really, really well. Now, we'll get that data because we're at 97%. For my wonderful teachers, we're at, I think, 78%. I still need a couple more teachers to do it to get to where the Arch wants us to be, which is at 80. But I do need that feedback from the parents in that case as well. So that's the other thing, and the other place I would ask for feedback is on that Arch survey, because right now we have 17% and we need to get to 20. So we need more parents to take it. So I will see if I can resend it out. I think I can click a button and can resend it out. But it's very important to us, right? Because that's data that the Archdiocese uses to help us fill our CSIP. And our CSIP is our Catholic School Improvement Plan. And it's really the thing that we look at on how we're going to improve our school, what we're focusing on, and that's just the academic part, right? The fiscal part has a little bit to do with it, but that's more of our parish improvement plan, those kind of things that combine all those things together. But the data that we can get from there is really important. It provides us insight to where you guys are and what you think. It gives us information about how you feel about how we're doing and how you think we're molding your children, and if we're doing a good job at keeping a safe environment, if you feel comfortable, all of those things. And so that's a place where, if you like the anonymous, answer that. And I would just urge everybody, or as many people as possible, to please answer it, just because we need that data. Without it, we don't get punished, but it doesn't look great for us if we can't get 20% of our parents to fill it out. But when we take that data, that's where we get our CSIP, and we look at our Catholic School Improvement Plan dashboard, and what we see is our school is absolutely wonderful. Right? We are not the school that will have the superintendent probably coming to our school and saying, you have the best growth numbers. Part of our problem is our darn 8th grade. Right now we have 4 8th graders that have tested out of already. So there's no more growth, right? And so those things will hurt us in the long run when we look at these growth metrics, because their growth, they hit a limit and they're not going anymore. But what we do is we do an amazing job on the tests. We might not meet the metric that the Archdiocese wants us to be at when it comes to the growth of each individual kid, but our students overall score 80% for reading at or above grade level. I think it's 78% for math at or above grade level. And so when we're looking at that halfway through the year, that's a good place to be, right? Because that's halfway through the year. When we look at those numbers in the beginning of the year, we're really looking at them to be right in between the 2 grade levels. At this point, most of our students are exactly where we want them to be. And at the end of the year, all those numbers always come out great for us. Once again, our growth numbers might not ever give us the recognition through the Archdiocese. but they can't discount what our students do. When I look at our dashboard, those numbers are green. If you don't know, green means good, right? It's true. I look at the Catholic identity numbers, those numbers are green. That's great. I look at our 5 essentials survey numbers, those numbers are green. They don't have our like fiscal information there, but I go to finance council and we have school board and those numbers are green. And so what I'm feeling right now is that we are in a wonderful place. It might not be the perfect place, but it's a wonderful place because what we're doing right now is starting to redefine what we're gonna do and how we're gonna do it. And we have to. Our backs are against the wall. We don't get a choice in this case. It's not the case where the school's gonna close. We're not saying that. But what I am saying is that our backs are against the wall because we lost all this funding that we worked so hard to create. I mean, people in this room that I know worked really hard to get other people to donate. We did an amazing job. But now we have to change the mentality. And it's gonna take hardship from some people, but we're here to support them. Our goal is to help everybody get through this in hopes that everybody wants to stay here. Because we want to keep people with our love, with our kindness. That does not mean blatantly giving money away. That does not mean we have to be generous beyond belief. That means we can give what we can give, and we hope that we can work with families and open up those conversations. And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying what I'm saying, is because I know that those things are gonna have to happen. And I know I'm gonna have to have hard conversations, and we're gonna have to talk about how we're gonna work things out. But I need people to feel comfortable coming to talk to me. I need people to know that there's a process. Once the process is done, we can move on to the next step of the process. We can move on to the next step of the process. Anne is very good at providing the steps of the process. We have a wonderful document which provides all the steps of the process, which we'd like you all to read, but if you don't want to read it, there's a nice 1-page front and back. It's got a lot of words, but shortened document that tells you the parts of the process and things that we are changing in our school. Right? Volunteerism is one of them. This year, we've kind of changed how the beginning of the school day works. We've started sending out letters to parents about absences and tardies. Because those things matter to us. That's part of our culture that we want to change. Now, are we punishing people? No, we're just giving them the information. You've had this many days of school and your child has been absent this many days. And I had to have conversations with people to tell them your child has been absent 20% of the days of school so far. And have them tell me that that was okay. Sure, it is, and I'm not trying to get you in trouble or anything, I'm just saying, hey, we care about this. We really care about your kid being here. We're changing the structure of how our preschool is being built, right? We only will have a 3-day option and a 5-day option. Half days, yes, full days, yes. But we're not doing all these in-betweens because those things got confusing. We want things to be focused and have an organized structure. We want that in our school, we want that in everything else. We gotta try to get there, but we have to start with the infrastructure of what we do. And so I know reading the handbook is super boring, but it might be worth a look. Right? It might be worth just taking time to realize what people like Ann and I do over the summer. And so that's really important to us, right? We put a lot of effort into trying to make little changes to the book that provide us a better environment. And so, do you have to read the whole thing? No. Did you sign a paper that said you read the whole thing? Yeah. Is that a really bad lesson for your kids? Yeah, you might want to read the whole thing, but just throwing it out there, right? We do that all the time. So the handbook is really important to the success of our individual students and us understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it. Right? It gives us the information that you need to know. It puts everything out there, and yes, some things you don't probably need to know about or care about, but it is all information that at some point might influence your kid or have some influence on your child. So when we're looking at the handbook, I know it is a kind of a drag, but I would strongly suggest giving it your best read. And if you can't, the one-page document that Ann made is wonderful, and it tells you, go to this section to read about this, and you can follow all the things. When we look at the idea of the handbook, one of the things I think that got brought up at a school board meeting in the handbook is the volunteerism, right? What our expectation is with volunteerism is that it's to hopefully bring our community together, hopefully provide us the tools that we need to make our school more successful. But yes, it does have requirements. And so our requirements are asking you to do things like volunteer for lunch duty, which we have multiple lunch duty people or hot lunch people here. Hot lunch is 3 days a week. You volunteer for 1 day. Seeing the amount of people we have, it might even be a quarter, I don't know, but we just need people to volunteer for that. Another option is volunteering to be in the lunchroom with one of the teachers, help support the kids. That's something we don't have right now, but I can tell you, and I'm sure the kindergarten, first grade teachers back there are saying yes, but with those little kids, you really need an extra person. When we talk about going outside, we need another person out there. We have a limited staff. We do not want to overburden our teachers. We want to give them their lunchtime and we want to give them their breaks. And so one of the ways we can do that is by making sure that we provide support with the parents. And so those would be 3 of the options you could do to support. You can spearhead a major event, which could be something like a fundraiser, probably not Oktoberfest. I think we'll take care of that. But, you know, doing a fundraiser. You could also volunteer in the school. I am even okay, as I told Father, with people volunteering in the parish. But if you're not volunteering at the school and you're volunteering at the parish, we gotta just make sure that that volunteering is actually happening. It can't just be like, oh, I said I'm volunteering at the parish. We need to know somebody has to be there to say they volunteered. Like I said before, I said this at school board, Savino expects 6th graders to have 15 hours. They fill out a form, they do all those kind of things. If we can expect 6th graders to do it, I think we can expect adults to do it. And I think all we're asking for is, in the least case, something like 3 hours, and in the bigger cases, it could be more, depending on what you want to give. But we're not asking for a lot, and we're asking you to be honest and track yourselves. And if you're doing something outside of the school, and it's for our parish, the only acceptable answer, we just need to make sure that, Father directly knows, or somebody at the parish can tell me that you were there and that you helped out. Because we want the support not only to be for our school, but for our parish, because that's the other one of our goals, is to bring these 2 entities together. I don't know if you know Megan, but she does everything, knows everybody, and exists in every circle in both the parish and the school. And she's working very hard at trying to create this environment in the 2 groups that it's now one. And this is one of the things that Father said at our meetings, that it shouldn't be seen at our staff meeting, that it should be seen as parish and school, that it's one. And that's one of our goals, right? One of our goals is that we need to bring these things together: school, parish, and parents and families. And if we can bring those things together, we can accomplish anything. We can accomplish anything with the parish, we can accomplish anything with the school. But we have to start creating those environments and opportunities that those things are available for all of you to do. I know they're available in the school. I'm sure if you want to get involved in the parish, you'll find plenty of things available in the parish as well. But it's about taking part in St. Catherine Laboure, the parish, the school, the culture of this place. And I hope that if we can really do that, and we can really focus on going back to those things of the Crusader way, like looking at the whole child, trying to focus on our God-given talents, looking at the ideas of how we accept people and how we meet people, knowing that each one of us is a unique person and none of us are perfect. My friend Dan always says, everybody's different, John. We have to accept this idea that Catholic education, that what we're doing here is paramount to evangelization. And in the long run, like, we hope that that's the saving of people's souls, right? So what we're trying to do here is like a very serious thing. It's not just like, oh, we're just doing this, putting it together. No, we're really caring about what we're doing. We know that we have to have a partnership with you guys. We know we have to have a partnership with the parish. We know we've leaned on the parish. We know we're now leaning on the parents. But that's what we have to do. The parish will always be there. They are going to be a rock behind us. But now we're just asking parents for a little bit more, and for some people to take a little bit more of a stake in the game. We know that our excellence has to be intentional. That everything we have to do has to push us towards being better than we were before. It's just the way it has to be. That practice is important. That we don't blow off the little things. That things like getting our kids to sit in Mass for 40 minutes is a really important thing to us. Those things, when we look at them, are really what we try to focus on every day. Right? Me, as a coach, I try to do it. It's what I want every day. I don't need to scream, I don't need to yell. I can if I want to, but I don't need to. I just want kids to understand that if you want to be excellent, you have to intentionally try to get excellent. You have to do it. And that's one of the things that I think as we move forward, we want to change in our culture as adults as well. Right? And not just our teachers, but all of us as adults. That we want to be as excellent as we possibly can. We want to make this place as excellent as we possibly can. And our hope is that we can do that together. The idea, obviously, that our challenges, our opportunities has to be the driving force between everybody's life, right? This is the idea that drives the mentality that's called growth mindset. It's what I think is one of the most important things to the success of all people, which is the acceptance that, yes, hardships will happen, failures will happen, we will fall, but it's how we get back up, it's how we fight, it's how we present ourselves that's the most important. And when we look at us, right, we are very small, but we don't back down. We keep fighting, we keep fighting, we keep fighting, we keep fighting, and we keep going. A lot of our kids are like that. You know, a lot of our kids are just relentless. And sometimes it's tough for us as teachers. But that's the spirit we want. We want that relentless want to be his best, our best. We want that relentless want to be our best in God as well. And we hope we can get there. And so we hopefully remind them multiple times when we go to church, or we go to prayer services, or we learn about religion in school, that that's what we're trying to do. And so our goal is a community of people that are focused on God and kids. And if we can focus on those two things, I think we'll do fine. We need to have that Catholic identity. And we need to remember who we're serving. Our children are the most important part of this. I need parents to understand that that comes at a cost for everybody. And that's where that volunteering comes in, and that's why we need you. We need everybody to pitch in. Because that's what's gonna make us great. And so the hope is that if we can come together, and we can open up these lines of communications and start to talk more when things are bothering us, we'll be in a better place. If we can focus on teaching us the Crusader way, and we can try to become champions of it, right? If we can try to do those things every day in our own lives, to be better, to look at challenges as opportunities instead of things that make us upset, I think we all can be better. And I hope that that's our focus, and that's our goal, right? Here, God and children, but the big picture is to apply all this to all of us all day long. So we can be the role models for our kids. And it's very hard, but it's what we try to do here as teachers and as our staff. We try to role model that every day. And I hope that that's worth something to everybody that sends their kids here. Because to me, that's like the most important thing. I mean, my kids' lives, although they don't go to these schools anymore, I mean, Calvin does, has been foundationally created by Miss Wise, right? And that's great. I love the fact that those people play an important role in my kids' lives. And they will always remember those people, and they will always have a place for SEL. I think that that's key to me, is to keep that going, is to keep celebrating our wonderful teachers and all the wonderful things that they do. And remember that when we give our volunteer time, we're really helping them the most. So when we want to give something to them, that's the best gift, is to make sure you're there. I mean, some of them like coffee and other things too, but being there and providing those opportunities for them to enjoy their lunch break instead of having to go help out, it does help, and it goes a long way. So with that, I mean, I just hope we can all see a way forward and see that we're in a great, wonderful place. It will come with changes, but I think that those changes are gonna be necessary for the betterment of the school. And one of the changes we're trying to make are focused on changing kind of our infrastructure so we can be prepared as we move forward. So we have a structure set up to raise a whole bunch of money for scholarships, which we didn't have before. And we have a structure for distributing, which we're creating right now. And so as we go, that's what we're gonna keep on doing. We're gonna keep on working. And then my goal for you guys is to keep trying to provide opportunities, to give reminders of some of these things, to talk about the opportunities. When we get into the beginning of next year, we're going to have our athletic day, but right before we have our athletics in middle school, back to school night, I'm gonna do a presentation about the volunteering. And so if there's more questions about that stuff, I will try to answer it there as well. And we'll have more specifics about how those things will work and opportunities that'll be available for next year. So those things are in the works. But for right now, does anybody have any questions? Now you know what it feels like. Johan's like, man, this was just like social studies class. Are you on? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, volunteerism, I can't work in a lunchroom or anything like that, but, what other activities might come up, are there?
So I mean,
Activities, parent teacher?
yeah, so a lot of the things would be for, like things that we would do for fundraisers, activities like, our wonderful Easter egg hunt. Is that next week or this week?
Next week.
The week after?
It's the weekend before Easter.
Okay, the weekend before Easter. So like the Easter egg, like those opportunities. I mean, Oktoberfest is a volunteer opportunity as well. But any of those opportunities that we have where we have to get people to help support. I think those are gonna be the biggest ones that are outside of the school day, will be the fundraising opportunities. So those would be activities that you would, most of the time, most of our parent families come to, and then we just ask that people work during those.
So like you would need somebody like take up full tables? bring
Sure, I mean, but it could
chairs,
even be like, people were working behind the counter selling hot dogs. So it doesn't have to be like, it could be physical labor, but it could be selling hot dogs. If we had enough parent volunteers, we probably would have some of them watch the kids that are doing like the bounce houses and some of that stuff. Because a lot of times that gets passed on to teachers, where some of them have other responsibilities that they're trying to do too. So I think that would be one of the opportunities as well, is just trying to, if we have more parent volunteers, we will definitely use them at things like that, and spread them out over the whole place. Selling tickets, all that, I mean, anything that we do at Oktoberfest, somebody could do, anybody could do.
Selling Queen of Hearts tickets.
Yeah.
Selling Queen of Hearts tickets, yeah. Megan does not have to go to every mass.
And
Oh, and. But yeah, I mean, selling Queen of Hearts tickets, I think that, yeah, that's That's a good point. I think there's a lot of little things that get done by a core group of people that I think they get spread out amongst a lot of people. And so some of those things could be, you know, like setting up some of these give back nights, those kind of things. I mean, we are still really trying to work our head through how many people we're gonna have, seeing if some people are paying treasure, and then how we're going to split that up. Because if we have, you know, 40 families, we wanna give them the opportunity, but we don't wanna burden anybody. But we also wanna give some people who like to do the jobs the opportunity to be here and do the jobs too. So I think there will be those opportunities outside of school. I mean, I know for Sabino, the concession stand is something that we do through boosters for sports. But, you know, the other activities that we have, Oktoberfest, do we do the Santa breakfast and Easter egg hunt? Valentine's Day dance. International night. They're full of it. Yeah, so there's those opportunities, but a lot of it will be standing around with other parents and talking, and so that's what we really want, is that time to spend with other people who you might not spend with and are gonna have to communicate with, and hopefully can build the community, because one of my good memories of this place is, well, like, you know, Steve's sitting right there, and so our relationship that we had with Giovanni's class when he came here is still really important, because we still talk to all these people. And I think that that's one of those things that we hope other people can create as well. And sometimes, unfortunately, you have to force people into those opportunities and make them volunteer next to somebody and talk to them and be like, oh yeah, we do have a lot in common. So, you know, that's also part of this sinister idea of getting people to meet each other. Anyone else? Okay. So, with that, I mean, I just hope everybody understands we will be here, and more importantly, I am here to listen to you. So please come and talk to me. Hopefully don't talk to somebody else and play a telephone game. That's my biggest pet peeve. Although, you know, I know sometimes it's hard, but like, I would rather have the conversations with people and talk to you and, you know, have hard conversations, or what my new leadership lady calls as necessary conversations, because I feel like that's where we grow. And so, as I said before, I just keep challenging everybody to do that, teachers included. But I think that that's the place where we grow, is like, if we can have those hard conversations and we put those challenges out there, we will find those opportunities to get better and to try to help each other. Because I feel like, I don't feel like there's a bad relationship or anything, but I do feel like not a lot of stuff comes to me. And the stuff that does come to me is oftentimes like, okay, we can take care of that, not that bad, we got it. Or, hey, you gotta talk to the teacher. But I just need to know some of those things, if they're bothering you, if, you know, the tuition, if, like, I just need to know those things. And I'm just hopefully asking for those communications to be opened up there. And if it's not there, please respond on the 5 essentials, because that is another place where those questions are gonna be asked. So, that's it. Father, do you wanna take us away?
With a prayer.
With a prayer? Well, I mean, you can